back with another video. Back with In the Mind of an Athlete, episode 2. And today we'll be talking about injuries and how you should attack your injuries and not struggle with them, right? A lot of us tend to struggle with our injuries, but I want to go over how you can attack them, conquer them, rather than just struggle with them and have a hard time. So, why is it important to attack your injuries? It's important because the mindset you approach it with determines how the entire process goes. But it's also important to approach it with a good mindset because that injury period will affect that period of your life, not just in that moment, but for times to come. So it's important to manage that properly and navigate it with a proper mind to set yourself up not only for a good recovery, but also for a good comeback. So let's quickly go over the main issues encountered when you get injured. Now, obviously, getting injured is not fun. I'm not trying to say that feeling some kind of way is wrong. I'm not saying that you're not allowed to have moments of doubt, have moments when you feel sorry for yourself, but these moments should remain moments. This cannot be your permanent state. This cannot be how you think and how you set your mind throughout the entire process. So the first thing obviously is looking down on yourself. You're injured, you're out of the game, you're out of your sport, and you're looking down on yourself. You're feeling sorry for yourself, and you think that you're taking a step back. Now, you are in fact taking a step back from whatever you're doing, but you shouldn't see it as taking a step back in terms of your progress. It's something you can control. It's happened, you're injured, and now you need to think forward. So instead of thinking that you're in a bad spot or that you're in a bad situation, I think the main issue here is setting your mind towards the future. We're going to get into that a bit later on. Second issue is feeling that you're limited and that you will lose your level, lose your competitive edge while being injured. And that could transpire through the way you live, your lifestyle as you're injured. So you drop out training instead of maybe switching things around. You use it as an excuse to slack off, which I can understand. You're injured, so life changes. There's some injuries that affect you more than others, so that's understandable. But we'll go over how we can deal with that in a bit. And the last problem is thinking that you can enjoy life being injured. Now, just like I mentioned previously, even if you're limited in certain aspects, maybe physically, there's still life. There's still life to be lived. There's still life to be enjoyed. And it cannot be a situation where your happiness is dictated by your sports, by your injury. So let's get into that right now. So how do we deal with all these issues? The number one thing is to approach it as a challenge, right? Instead of feeling sorry for yourself, instead of looking down on yourself, remember, it's past. What happened. The injury is what it is. You can't go back in time. You can't uninjure yourself. You're there. Fuck it. Take it as a challenge and take it as a learning curve. Whenever I got injured, I always learned something new about my body. Whether it's like a body part, a muscle, a function of my body. And through these injuries, you learn that sometimes, maybe there were things that I was not doing enough of, things that I was doing wrong, mechanics, movements that I didn't have on lock. So, instead of feeling sorry for yourself, Use this as an opportunity to learn something new because you will always learn something new. You're presented an opportunity, now you have to take it. So take it as a challenge, accept it, and learn what you learn. You can have various injuries, but there's always something you can get out of it. Second thing is to realize that you might be away from your sport, but as I mentioned, it shouldn't be an excuse to slack. It shouldn't be an excuse to just drop the ball. Just because your focus is away from the sport itself, your focus should still be on things that there's obviously rehab that you do, which is normal. But besides that, you can still optimize other areas besides just physical performance. Now, there's obviously what I mentioned, staying on track with the trainings. Just because you broke one leg doesn't mean your other leg doesn't work. Doesn't mean your upper body doesn't work. Doesn't mean the rest of your body doesn't work. So you can still train. You break an arm, I mean, depending on how it is, maybe you can still go on walks. Maybe you can still run. I never broke an arm, so I don't know what that looks like. But yeah, all that to say that there's always something that can be done. And as you keep on training, you make it easier for your body to not only maintain a level, but to recover quicker and for the post injury to be smoother. Because what happens is that a lot of people stop doing everything, so they're not only injured, and since they're not doing anything, everything drops. So even the strength that you could have maintained or augmented, I hope I can say that, yeah, I think that's fine, um, is gone. So now you have to build everything back up. Why not do a bit of damage control? Yes, you cannot train your arm, yes, you cannot train your leg, but why not train the rest? That way, when you come back, you just have to focus on getting that area back up on level terms with everything else, rather than just dropping the ball and just, you know, starting afresh and dealing with more than you have to deal with. So, one thing I want you to remember is damage control. Even if you're, I wouldn't say damaged, you can still control it in a way. Last thing is to realize that above all, it's also an opportunity to relax, to take a step back and enjoy other areas of your life. I remember when I was out injured for 6 months with a groin injury, I was happy. Not because I was happy with my injury, but because you now have more time for other things. I had more time to focus on school. I had more time to, do other activities and just enjoy life. No matter what it looks like for you, you could be spending more time with friends, maybe going out on walks, enjoying nature, enjoying whatever you enjoy, whatever stimulates your mind and body, of course, if you still can. Unless your body is really, really cooked. But yeah. Um, it's a time to take it easy. Now, it's not a wanted break, but it's a break nonetheless. And why not take that break period as a break rather than just only look at it as a setback? Only look at something that's holding you back. We can all do with a break from time to time. And yeah, this should be an opportunity for you to look at life that way. And I can tell you right now that those 6 months were some of the best 6 months of my life. I was shitting, living life. I was pretty happy. And that positive mindset also carried over into my post injury phase. Because imagine you're down the entire time you're injured and then now you're back to it. Things don't just change like that. Imagine getting used to feeling or being in one state for so long and then just expecting yourself to come out of it just like that. You've not only brought down your level lower than it should have been by not being consistent, by not focusing on areas of your recovery that you should have to facilitate the post injury, but you've now also negatively affected your mindset when you didn't have to do it. And now you're completely shifting the dynamic of your life all around negatively, not just in sports, but your mental health. And if you negatively impact your mental health, it could affect your relationships, it could affect everything else that you have going on. And that's why I mentioned in the beginning that it's important to manage this properly, because it doesn't just affect your sports, it affects other areas of your life. And you don't want to find yourself in that situation. So, yeah, that's it for the video. Hope you learned something from this. So, anybody out there that's injured, just know that it's not the end of the world. You can still deal with it, you can still manage it, you can still attack it. You don't have to let it take over your life, take over your mental health, and limit you. So, yeah, keep on persevering, keep on pushing. Life is full of ups, life is full of downs. You know, it is what it is. If you can't control it, if it's already done, don't sweat it. But focus on what you can control. And all these things are listed are things that you can control. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Catch you next time.